Number 10. The Antikythera Mechanism, built in ancient Greece around 100 BC. It was a computer, 2,000 years before computers existed. It was found near the island of Antikythera in the Mediterranean, marked on no map, hidden on the ocean floor. In 1900, sponge divers discovered an ancient shipwreck. Among the cargo was a lump of corroded bronze nobody could explain. Inside that lump were 37 bronze gears, dials, pointers, a mechanism of impossible complexity for its time. 2,000 years separated the Antikythera mechanism from the first modern computer. Nothing like it appeared in between. Ancient Greek astronomers used it to predict solar eclipses, lunar cycles, and the positions of planets years in advance. 37 bronze gears working together, each one calculating something different, all fitting in a box the size of a shoebox. 82 fragments were recovered from the shipwreck. Scientists are still discovering new functions encoded in the gears. A Greek merchant ship sank in a storm 2,000 years ago. The most sophisticated device in the ancient world sank with it. A master craftsman built this using hand tools and primitive metalworking. We still don't fully understand how. It could calculate solar eclipses, lunar cycles, planet positions, and even the schedule of the Olympic Games. It sits in a museum in Athens today, the most sophisticated object recovered from the ancient world. And we still don't know who built it. Number 9. The Baghdad Battery, a clay jar with metal rods inside. Found in Iraq, dating to 250 BC. It produces electricity. It was found near Baghdad in modern Iraq, in a region where no one was supposed to understand electricity for another 2,000 years. German archaeologist Wilhelm Koenig found it in museum storage in 1938. He immediately recognized what it was. Nobody believed him. Clay jar on the outside, copper cylinder inside, iron rod in the center, acidic liquid filling the jar, electrical current flowing between the metals. A modern scientist recreated it exactly using ancient materials. The voltmeter read 1.1 volts. It works. Ancient craftsmen may have used it to electroplate gold onto silver jewelry. The same process used in modern manufacturing. Alessandro Volta invented the battery in 1800. The Baghdad battery predates him by 2,000 years. Scientists still argue about whether it was truly used as a battery. The debate has never been resolved. Some historians believe ancient priests used multiple batteries connected together to create mysterious glowing effects in temples. Multiple Baghdad batteries have been found at different sites across ancient Mesopotamia. It was not an accident, a single clay jar, sitting in the dark for 2,000 years, quietly holding an electrical charge nobody knew about. In ancient Mesopotamia, someone understood that two different metals and acid produce electricity. We don't know how they knew. Number 8. Greek fire, a liquid weapon that burned on water. The formula died with the Byzantine Empire. Nobody has recreated it since. The Byzantine Empire used it to defend Constantinople for 700 years. Their enemies never cracked the secret. A bronze tube mounted on a warship, liquid pumped through under pressure, an ignition source at the tip, then fire that water could not stop. Enemy sailors threw water on it. The flames grew larger. Men jumped into the sea. The fire followed them. The emperor shared the formula with only 2 people. It was the most closely guarded military secret in history. In 678 AD, an Arab fleet attacked Constantinople. Greek fire destroyed the entire fleet. The city was saved. The exact formula was never written down. Historians have found references to quicklime, naphtha, pine resin, and sulfur. But the proportions remain unknown. Modern chemists and military scientists have spent decades trying to recreate it. None have fully succeeded. Constantinople fell in 1453. The last defenders used the final remaining Greek fire against the Ottoman forces. It was not enough. The last record of the formula burned with the empire. 700 years of the most effective naval weapon in history, gone in an afternoon. The entire Byzantine navy was built around one weapon they could never replace. And they never had to, until the end. 1,300 years later, modern science still cannot fully recreate a weapon that Byzantine sailors used routinely. Number 7. Damascus steel. A sword blade with a wavy pattern that shouldn't exist. Flexible enough to bend without breaking. Sharp enough to split a hair. The steel was forged in Damascus using ore imported from India. The combination produced something no other civilization could replicate. Ancient Syrian blacksmiths developed a technique that remained a closely guarded secret for centuries. Then it was lost forever. Crusaders encountered Damascus steel swords on the battlefield and watched their own swords shatter on contact. They had no explanation. In 2006, scientists discovered carbon nanotubes inside Damascus steel blades. Carbon nanotubes are a modern material. In a sword from 900 AD, the blade was flexible enough to absorb impact without breaking, hard enough to hold an edge sharper than a razor. No modern steel has both properties. The last master swordsmith who knew the full technique died in 1750. The secret died with him. Modern metallurgists have studied Damascus steel blades for decades using electron microscopes. They understand what it is. They cannot fully reproduce it. The secret began with a specific type of Indian iron ore called woots. Without that exact ore, the process cannot be replicated. Every modern attempt to recreate Damascus steel has fallen short of the original, by measurable margins. The swirling pattern on the surface is not decoration. It is carbon nanotubes arranged through a process we still do not fully understand. Original Damascus steel swords sit in museums today. After 1,000 years, they are still sharper than most modern steel. Number 6. Roman concrete, mixed with seawater and volcanic ash. Gets stronger when wet. Modern concrete crumbles after 50 years. Roman concrete has lasted 2,000. The Romans built harbors, aqueducts, domes, and walls using a concrete formula that has outlasted every modern equivalent. Ancient Roman workers mixed volcanic ash from the region near Mount Vesuvius with seawater and lime. The result was unlike anything built since. When seawater enters Roman concrete, a chemical reaction begins. Tobermorite crystals grow inside the mixture. The concrete gets harder over time. Modern concrete starts crumbling within 50 years. Roman concrete submerged in seawater for 2,000 years is stronger today than when it was poured. The Pantheon in Rome has the largest unreinforced concrete dome ever built, 43 meters across. Still standing after 2,000 years without a single crack. The secret ingredient was a specific volcanic ash called pozzolana, found only near the Bay of Naples. It reacts with seawater in a way no modern substitute can replicate. In 2017, scientists finally understood the chemistry of Roman concrete. It took modern science until 2017 to understand what Romans did in 100 BC. Modern concrete production releases massive amounts of CO2. Roman concrete production was almost carbon neutral. It was also better for the environment. The Colosseum, the Pantheon, Roman harbor walls still standing on the ocean floor. All built with a formula we lost for 1,500 years. Roman engineers designed their structures to get stronger over time. Modern engineers design structures that last 50 years and are replaced. Ancient Roman harbor walls sit underwater off the coast of Italy. 2,000 years of ocean. Still intact. Number 5. The Archimedes death ray. A weapon made of mirrors. That set ships on fire using sunlight. Built in 212 BC, the Romans attacked the city of Syracuse in Sicily. Archimedes was inside. He turned sunlight into a weapon. Concave bronze mirrors focused sunlight into a single intense beam. At the focal point, temperatures exceeded 300 degrees Celsius. Roman sailors looked up and saw their sails catching fire from a beam of light. They had never seen anything like it. Greek soldiers on the city walls coordinated dozens of polished bronze shields into one giant focusing mirror system, directed by Archimedes himself. In modern experiments, researchers recreating the Archimedes mirror have successfully set fire to wooden ship models at distance. The Roman general Marcellus refused to let his soldiers approach the walls of Syracuse. He was terrified of weapons he could not understand. In his workshop, Archimedes calculated the exact angles needed to focus sunlight onto Roman ships from the city walls. The same principle that powered Archimedes' death ray now powers modern solar thermal power plants worth billions of dollars. Rome eventually took Syracuse in 212 BC by sneaking in at night to avoid the mirrors. Archimedes was killed at his drawing board. What Archimedes invented as a weapon we now use to power cities. The principle is identical. A harbor at golden hour, a beam of light from the city walls, an entire Roman fleet on fire. Number 4. The Iron Pillar of Delhi, forged in 375 AD. 7 meters tall, 6 tons of iron. Not a single spot of rust after 1,600 years. It stands in the Qutb Minar complex in Delhi. Originally erected in a different location, moved to Delhi centuries later, still perfectly preserved. Ancient Indian metalworkers forged it using a process called forge welding, joining sections of iron together without modern furnaces. On the microscopic surface of the pillar, a thin protective layer called Missa white formed naturally. It has been protecting the iron from rust ever since. Monsoon rains have fallen on this pillar for 1,600 years. The humidity of the Indian summer has attacked it every year. No rust. The secret was the phosphorus content in ancient Indian iron ore. Modern steel has almost no phosphorus. The pillar has high concentrations, 7 meters tall, 6 tons, a single piece of iron, raised without cranes, without welding machines, without modern metallurgy. An inscription in Sanskrit tells us it was made for the Emperor Chandragupta II. It tells us nothing about how it was made. Modern steel manufacturers have studied the pillar for decades. They understand the chemistry. They cannot replicate the results. Empires have risen and fallen around this pillar. The Gupta Empire, the Delhi Sultanate, the Mughal Empire, the British Empire. The pillar outlasted them all. Number 3, Stonehenge. The stones weighed 25 tons. The builders had no wheel, no horses, no metal tools. The stones came from the Priestley Hills in Wales, 300 kilometers away, across rivers, hills, and ocean. Prehistoric people moved 25-ton stones 300 kilometers using wooden sledges and human muscle. We have never found evidence of any other method. The monument is aligned to the summer solstice sunrise with perfect astronomical precision. The sun enters through the heelstone at exactly the right angle on one day each year. Stonehenge was built in phases over 1,500 years, from 3000 BC to 1500 BC. Generation after generation working toward a goal none of them would live to see completed. On the summer solstice, the rising sun beams directly into the center of Stonehenge. Precisely every year for 5,000 years. The blue stones were brought from a specific location in Wales, chosen for a reason we do not understand. Other closer stones were ignored. Engineers have studied multiple theories for how the lintels were lifted onto the standing stones. None has been proven definitively. Archaeologists found the cremated remains of 63 individuals buried at Stonehenge over 500 years. It was a cemetery before it was a monument. Stonehenge still draws crowds on the summer solstice every year. 5,000 years after it was built, people still come to watch the sunrise through it. Number 2. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built 4,500 years ago. More precisely aligned to true north than the Greenwich Observatory. Using copper tools. The pyramid sits on the Giza Plateau outside Cairo, oriented to true north within 0.05 degrees. GPS satellites could not do better. The 4 base sides of the Great Pyramid differ from each other by less than 5 centimeters across 230 meters. Using copper tools and human eyes, the pyramid is aligned to true north more accurately than the Greenwich Observatory in London, which was built with modern instruments specifically to be aligned to true north. 2.3 million stone blocks. Average weight 2.5 tons. To finish in 20 years, they needed to place one block every 2 minutes. Every day, for 20 years. Archaeologists discovered the workers' village near the pyramid. The workers were paid, fed, and given medical care. They were not slaves. The granite coffer inside the king's chamber was cut to within 0.01 millimeters of precision, using copper tools. Modern construction engineers have stated publicly that they could not build the Great Pyramid today using the same constraints. No modern machinery, no GPS, no steel. Originally, the entire pyramid was covered in polished white limestone casing stones. It reflected sunlight like a mirror and could be seen from 160 kilometers away. The limestone casing was stripped away in the Middle Ages to build Cairo. What we see today is the interior structure. The original was even more impossible. Number 1. The Nazca hot air balloon. The Nazca civilization of Peru was flying 2,000 years before the Wright brothers, using materials that already existed. The Nazca Plateau in Peru is covered in giant lines and figures that only make sense from above. From the ground, they are meaningless. The Nazca wove fabric so tightly it was virtually airtight. The same quality of weave needed to make a functional hot air balloon. In 1975, a team of researchers built a hot air balloon using only materials available to the Nazca: reeds, rope, and woven fabric. It flew. The giant geoglyphs on the Nazca Plateau were designed to be seen from above. Someone was above them when they were made. Burn marks have been found at specific points on the Nazca Plateau consistent with fire pits used to inflate hot air balloons. A Nazca priest floating above the desert in a reed balloon, looking down at giant hummingbirds and spiders drawn in the earth below. The Wright brothers flew at Kitty Hawk in 1903. The Nazca were potentially flying 2,000 years before that moment. The technology to make an airtight balloon already existed in ancient Peru. The fine weaving, the ropes, the fire pits. All of it was there. The lines that can only be seen from above. The fabric that could hold air. The burn marks on the ground. Each piece alone means nothing. Together they tell a story. They had everything they needed. The materials, the knowledge, the reason. And they left us the evidence in the desert. 2,000 years of desert wind. The lines are still there, waiting for someone to look down at them from above. Just like the first time.